Okay, welcome to your Flip It lesson. I am Mr. Skelton, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about solving equations involving fractions. So this is a little bit different than just solving equations algebraically normally. So we're going to get right into it. So we're going to just start with one, and we're going to use t over 5 equals 6. So t over 5 equals 6. Now this is something that you might not have seen before, just based on the fact that there's a fraction in there. So you see that we have a fraction. Now, whenever there's a fraction, it actually means to divide. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to solve this equation and get t all by itself. But fortunately, we don't have to do very much. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by 5 on each side. Now, the reason we do that is because it says t divided by 5. The only way to get a divided by 5 out of there is to multiply by 5. So we're going to multiply that whole equation, t divided by 5, multiplied by 5. And you'll see that the 5's cancel each other out. Now, because this is an equation and there's an equal sign, we have to balance that equation. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other, as you guys know. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 6 by 5. So we're left with t. We were able to find out t on its own. And you guys will come up with t is equal to 30. So that's how we do that one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the board here. And we're going to do one that's just a little bit tougher, just because it's not like anything that you would have ever seen before. So we are going to do 3 over t equals 6. Now, you might not see too many of these questions, but I think it's important to understand how to solve them anyway. So we have 3 divided by t, which is our variable, is equal to 6. Now, sometimes what I see kids do, or I see people do in general, is they try to multiply that 3 again, but that is not what we want to do, because what's actually being divided is the t. So in order to get that by itself, what we have to do is we have to multiply that whole fraction by t. So let's do that. Now what you're going to see is that the t's cancel each other out on that side. And because this is an equation like we were talking about before, we have to multiply t to the other side. Now, this will get us back to an equation that we're more familiar with. So this will end up being 3 is equal to 6t. And now that we have that, we still need to just try to get t all by itself. We need to isolate that variable. So we're going to divide by 6. And divide by 6 cancels out those 6's, and we are left with t. And then because it's an equation, we have to do that to the other side. So what we're actually left with is 3 6 equals t. But we're not quite done there. Because we've already talked about fractions, we know that 3 6 can be simplified. So what I'm going to do is, just because I know that 3 6 is half of 6, 3 is half of 6, I'm going to simplify that down to 1/2 is equal to t. And that would be how you'd solve that one, where there's some division at the beginning of the equation. So I hope that this has helped you guys a little bit with linear equations and solving equations that involve fractions, especially when there's a variable attached to that fraction. And thank you for listening along. I hope it has helped.